Unmuting would be great. Hello, good afternoon. How are you?
Hello, good afternoon. I hope I'm unmuted too.
You are. I can hear you.
Good deal.
Yep. So, hello, Forrest. Thanks for coming in and joining us, bud. We appreciate it. We'll give it a couple minutes and saw an interesting thing posted to YouTube a few minutes ago. You remember Hidden True Crime? She was a part of she was in court every day at the
Yep.
the trial for Delphi. She
hmm
posted a short a few minutes ago, and let me see if I can just pull it up real quick. I want to play it while we're waiting on people to get in here. And she says that if you see the end of the bridge and this, I don't know where she got this video that she saw it from, but she's watching someone's video and how it remarks about how you can see Weber's van right at the end of the bridge and through the woods there at his home. And so I made a comment and she commented back. I was going to see if I can find it real quick. It was like a short or something she did. Okay, here we go. Let me present and see if I can get it to come up. Yeah. Okay. So again, this is from Hidden True Crime, a short she posted a few minutes ago, and let's just give it a watch for a second. First,
This is the end of the
can you guys see it okay?
bridge where Abby and Libby
Yes.
walked, and the bridge guy followed them and walked to the end where you can see that Abby and Libby had nowhere to go. It was essentially a dead end. Now, when he gets to the end of the bridge, take a look at what you see in the distance. Watch this. You can see in the distance right there. Can you see it yet? There we go. See that white spot? Zoom into that. That is Brad Weber's white van that Richard Allen allegedly claims scared him as it drove up, and that is down the hill. This is the end of the bridge where Abby and Libby walked and where bridge guy followed them and walked to the end where you can see that Abby and Libby.
Okay, let me mute her for a minute. Hey, Steven, welcome in. Okay, so I was like, I had to comment, and I don't know if you guys can see it well, but I'll read it out. I was like, okay, but where was bridge guy, Abby, and Libby when the van allegedly drove by, standing on the private drive? Weber didn't claim to see them, because I've always wondered, if that's true, white van comes by, where are they in relation to, when the van drove by? And where did her comment back to me go? Let's see. A lot of people are commenting on that. Let's see. Here it is. Sorry. Oh, if I clicked it right. She says the three were at the bottom of the hill. Weber didn't see them. He was driving home on his private drive and then parked in his driveway. That's not possible. If they were already down the hill, then they would have been standing right there on the private drive. How did he not see them?
Yeah, that was exactly what my boots on the ground impressed upon me personally. There's not down one hill, there's down two hills. Like if you want to get down the creek, you have to go down two hills. So down the hill, the first time is down to the private drive from the railroad tracks, from the railroad bed. So
exactly.
Yeah.
And then, people are commenting that the jury came to the correct clue. I don't care what people say, but I just found that her reply back was interesting because I don't see how that could be possible. That
they could have been down at the bottom of the second hill, because
I guess they could have been, but
if they were literally up against the bottom of that steep bank that you actually can't walk down, you would have to like fall or slide on your butt or on a sled down from the private drive to the creek bed. If you want to go down that, you have to do that. Otherwise, you have to go along the railroad tracks, and you take a little detour. It's possible, it's doable. But
okay, but like you showed us and pointed out, when you go down the hill to the private drive, from the bridge down the hill, you're going to land at the private drive. But then if you go down the second hill, it's so steep. Once they were down there at the bottom, Weber wouldn't have seen them, they wouldn't have seen him, but he may have heard the van. But was it enough to scare him off from what he was doing? Knowing that bridge ended, knowing that private drive probably led to a private home. I don't know. Then you got to hustle your victims across the creek, hoping they don't scream out in the meantime. It just never made sense to me, that part of it. You know what I mean?
It
So
still doesn't make sense.
no, and it's another rabbit
But the
hole.
jury bought it. Yeah, the jury
Yeah,
bought
they
it.
did. Yeah, they did. Man, they bought a lot of stuff in there, if you ask me. But there's a lot of people, a lot of good people out there doing a lot of good work and evidence, DNA evidence, where, when, and where, all this stuff. Um, and there's a lady on Twitter also. Welcome in, woman. Um, they're going to be filing stuff, about this case. So I'm letting them have at it. I am watching everything they're doing. We'll have to put a show together about what all has gone on since then. But there's just so much. But I just found that post by her interesting. We've all seen how the damn bridge ends, and we know where Weber lived and the van thing. But I had to comment when I saw the post. I was like, no, explain to me where, because Richard Allen never states where they were when they heard or saw the van. He says he saw the van, right? So if you're at the bottom of that second steep hill to go down to the creek area, would he have seen the van or just heard the van?
Well, line of sight works both ways. Did the driver of the van see him, and did he see the van? If he was not apparently visible to the van, then he couldn't have seen the van.
No, he would have
So
just
you
heard it.
right, and it is a gravel drive, so you can hear it
But what was Richard
approaching.
Allen's statement in the confession? A van came along and startled me, or I saw a van, heard a van. It's like I can't even anymore. It's
Right,
crazy.
if you didn't see it, you wouldn't know it was a van. So he had to have seen
Exactly.
it, which means that he wasn't at the bottom of the hill, not
On the
visible to
second
the
hill.
driver of the van. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. If he saw the van, the driver of the van could have seen him too. Didn't
Exactly.
necessarily. Didn't
Well,
necessarily. Brad Weber drove that every single day, drove it home every single day. He may not have been paying attention
oh,
to
bullshit.
people that were over there.
I'm sorry. That private drive is not that big. We've all seen it. We all know what goes down that hill. And if you're literally standing right there, Weber's going to see you. There's no way around it. Yeah, I agree, woman. I wonder if that was just, it's a whole concocted story between Walla and her buddy Hughes. Or, I don't know.
Hey,
That's a
Emmy Sue. Emmy Sue
whole
says
other
she's
rabbit.
listening, driving home from work.
Oh, cool, Emmy. I always was, well, before my car got totaled in a car wreck, I was always riding in my car listening to somebody's true crime stream. Oh, yeah, woman, I see you, girl. So welcome in, everybody. We're gonna get started here. We just got some updates. I want to go through a couple of little updates in the beginning, and then we're going to talk about some of the latest in the Brian Kohberger stuff, because today's a deadline for something, and so far as when we went to air, they haven't met the deadline yet. I'll check in a few minutes to see if anything's been put up, because it's getting later in the afternoon and they like to file things last minute, so we'll see if it shows up today. But I didn't know how many of you had followed the Hannah Kobayashi, if I said that right, Kobayashi case, the missing girl from Hawaii. She flew into the U.S. She is a photographer, and she had gotten a job in New York. So she flew into Los Angeles and missed her connecting flight, I think, to New York. So she was waiting for another flight to come. So in the meantime, she was kind of kicking it around LA there. Family had talked to her a little bit. She'd made a couple of posts on social media. And then things turned kind of dark. She began making strange text messages to her family. and there were some strange posts on Twitter that I was noticing from someone. And then the next thing you know, her father, trigger warning, allegedly commits suicide. And I thought, well, and he supposedly jumped from something, a parking garage attached to LAX there at the airport, distraught over his daughter, jumped to his death or did something being loud, about find my daughter, which I don't blame the man for doing that. I just didn't know if any of you had seen those updates or had been following that case at all. Joe, you said you had just a little bit seen it a little bit.
Yeah, I've seen like probably 30-second mainstream media clips on that case, and it definitely is intriguing because those are very, very unusual circumstances for a daughter to go missing and then the
Hmm.
father to commit suicide. They seem to be related and very odd circumstances.
Well, if your daughter, I understand being distraught. Your child is missing. I don't care how old they are. They're gone. You can't find them. You're doing everything in your power to try to find them. Um, it seems odd that he would take that route without her being found yet. Do you know what I mean? That,
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, if you're going to take your own life, it would seem to be an expression of your guilt over something, possibly, or your
well,
hopelessness. Because
yeah.
if she hasn't been found yet, then she hasn't been found dead. And so the unaliving of himself is not about her disappearing out of his life. It's got to be about something else.
Well, like I said,
If he
it,
did unalive
it,
himself, but
yeah,
you
if he
you have
did.
to, yeah, you have to go down the route though that are other parties involved. Was somebody else responsible for her disappearance and for his being found how he was and it looking like a suicide? I mean, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I mean,
Well,
we don't.
I'll review. I'm going to review some of those Twitter posts I was talking about that caught me off. Didn't surprise me because well, I'm not really going to say a whole lot about that, but I thought they were strange, and then this occurred, and I was like, wait a minute, a lot of us are parents, and if I'm telling you, if my child was missing, if I chose to take that route, it would be after my child was found unalived. Do you know what I mean? It wouldn't have been in the middle of the hunt. But then again, you don't ever know what someone's thinking. And I ran one of the last news pieces that I did look at did claim that her and her father had been estranged, but he flew here immediately to help locate his daughter. Because I noticed in a couple of the news things I was reading, she was communicating with her mother about, hey, I've made it. I'm going to be going to New York. She was excited about going and all these things. So I took a look at her Facebook as well. And she was spiritual and she was on a journey, but I don't agree. Just as just a little preliminary looking into it, the Twitter post was saying something about it appears she may have taken off on her own on a spiritual journey. And I'm thinking, I'm all the way back to 2019. I can tell she was on a journey already. She seemed to be in touch with higher self. Um, there's just a lot there on her Facebook, and I did never got the impression she was soul searching. And she was literally on her way to a job that she really wanted for a photography session, I guess, that she was going to do. And she was excited about going. So it's just, and then when she ended up sending some strange text messages, like I said, back to her family, and we'll get into that. So let me start with this one. Um, let me see what's Forrest has got to say here. Right, Forrest? If there's a possibility she's going to be found, you want to be there for her when she is found in case she's, needs you. I mean, it's a little odd, but like I said,
Well,
you never know.
let's let's go down the dark conspiracy theory here. Let's say he was an abusive father, which is how they became estranged, whether it's physically abusive or otherwise, and she didn't want anything to do with him. And then she was on her spiritual journey and she decided she was going to do something along that journey, like turn him in. That
Well,
could
she's 31 years old. So,
right.
I mean, she's a 31-year-old woman. I don't know if that would be a factor. I've thought about that, honestly. Um, woman, there's no indications that I've seen that she had any kind of mental illness, honestly. I looked, like I said, I've just kind of took a dive down her Facebook and saw the stuff I was seeing on Twitter. And then I grabbed a couple of news pieces and kind of reviewed them. But I don't, from what the family has said, that doesn't appear to be the case. So I don't think, I don't know. It, and you'll see with these strange messages that she sent to her family. And you guys tell me what you think. Let me get the screen up here and share with you. This is a news clip from. Let me get this going. Oh, let me full screen it so we can see all of that. Okay. All right. Let me know if you guys can hear it. If you can't, let me know.
Yeah.
What, am I going to get swamp signal all of a sudden?
FBI is now investigating what happened to Hannah Kobayashi. The 30-year-old missed a connecting flight from LAX to New York on November 8th. Instead, it appears she toured the Grove Shopping Center and went to a local event in the following days. Her family says they received text messages from her that were out of character, and they also obtained new surveillance video that shows her near the Pico metro station. And they say she wasn't alone in that footage. They think she was abducted or even trafficked. And joining me now is her father and her aunt, Ryan Kobayashi and Laurie Pigeon. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so sorry it's under these circumstances. I know it's been,
thank you.
Must be an agonizing time for you right now. How are you doing?
We're really tired, but we are remaining hopeful, and we are remaining, vigilant,
Yeah.
What have you learned? All these clues are kind of emerging. There's images and surveillance video. You saw the images at LAX. What are you learning on a daily basis, and what is the very latest in the case?
So we, through our own investigative work, we've kind of tracked her down. Just a quick synopsis: she missed her flight. She ran. She was trying to connect her flight. We believe that she was on standby, and that because of that, she was going and just basically exploring LA. We have found out that she did charge her phone on Saturday. An employee confirmed it. We actually got proof of her filling out in her own handwriting a mailing list with her address in Hawaii. And then, that's when things got really fuzzy, was on Monday with the weird, very strange text messages that were coming to her family. And we were made aware of video surveillance that shows her with an unidentified person exiting around the Pico metro station.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sort of where we lose her.
And Brian, can you talk about those text messages and why they were so out of character for her?
Well, just the wording that she used and just seemed kind of odd, off base. Yeah.
And she said something about giving away her money to someone she thought she was in love with or something. What did they say?
Yeah, it basically said that she gave all her funds away, and just the word funds, not money, not cash, to someone that she loved. Another thing is that Hannah speaks in emojis. Even if you look at her Instagram profile, it's thousands of emojis, and within these texts, there's not a single emoji. And it's just stealing her identity. She had a spiritual awakening. It was bizarre. And so it wasn't out of character for her.
There's a rally happening today at Crypto Arena. How can people help? What are you asking for from the public?
So we would just like people to show up at 3 p.m. The Lakers game is happening, and she was seen 2 blocks over, and people are coming in from all across California. And I just want to say thank you to the public of Los Angeles, because they've been so helpful. So if you can come to the rally, we're handing out flyers because the family doesn't know how long we can be here. So we can hand out flyers to keep the support going, and to, just give an update to all the people and kind of create the narrative and the truth, and kind of dismay some of the crazy, wild things that are out there, and let them see the family.
And Ryan, if you could talk to her, if she could see this message from you, if she could see some of your appearances, what would be your message to her?
Love you, Hannah. Just love all the love and support she has. Everybody's praying for her safe return, and we we're just grateful for everything that everybody's been outpouring. It's been overwhelming. Yeah.
And what is she like as a person?
Oh, she's the kindest heart, you know. And everything
Salty,
about,
can you pause a second?
you know.
Yeah. Well, we wish you the best.
Yes, sir.
Is that dad? Is that the dad that unalived himself later?
Yes.
Oh
That's
my.
that's her father, and that is her aunt.
Oh my.
And they held a big rally before the Lakers game. Like they said, they were, I think, I don't even remember which day it was, yesterday or the day before, I believe, whenever the game was. But they got out there, you know, and they helped. They were trying to bring awareness because they knew there would be a lot of people coming in. So they wanted to get, you know, they got her father.
This is not a suicidal man. I'm sorry, but
Mm-mm.
you cannot tell me that this guy is close
Well,
to unaliving himself. There is
here,
no
since
freaking way.
I agree, and because they have put themselves out there, everyone, especially in the LA area, would know what he looked like. And there is a video that they have seen with Hannah, and there's a man with her, and they don't know who it is. Now, the Twitter post begs to differ, and I don't know how much that Twitter stuff's going to play into this, but we're going to review it because I'm not entirely happy with that Twitter stuff either, and I'm not the only one. Because there's a lot of people out there that will insert themselves into cases just to be doing it. Some do it for the clout chasing ability, the whatever, you know, get me out there, get me clicks and views, whatever the case may be. I'm not saying that's what happened with the Twitter, but once we get to that in just a moment, you guys will see what I'm talking about. Some of you are probably familiar with who that is on Twitter that I'm going to be talking about.
So we wish a speedy recovery for her and that you get some answers.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it.
Okay, that was the end of that anyway, so let me bring that one down. Oops.
That is so striking that is not a suicidal father. The aunt said, "We are hopeful." She used the word hopeful, and they're sitting there, you know, comforting each other, holding hands, not in any type of a romantic or sexual way, just from comfort. That man was not suicidal, and that aunt was not suicidal and hopeless.
Yeah. So this next piece we're going to play, I believe this is the one that covers some of the bizarre text, or maybe it's this actual. Let me see. One's going to cover the text. This one does a little bit, and the next one goes into a little more of those texts. Let me get this up there. No, it's not Greeno woman. Is he still around? I mean, my God, don't. It's not Greeno. It's a private investigator. I'll give y'all a hint. Okay, let me get this. Oh, it's up there. Okay.
Have you heard anything new from police?
No, today's been 12 days since we've last heard from her and since her phone has gone dead. And now it's just kind of a waiting game. The family did all they could to try to find, to try to do their own investigation, but now it's in the hands of the police and the investigators.
One thing I'm confused by is that she went back to the airport and was trying to, it sounds like, buy a ticket so she didn't have to be on standby. So if she went back to the airport, it sounds like she wanted to get to New York. So something, I guess, happened from the time after she went back to LAX. Is that right?
Yeah. So from what we can tell, and just to let you know, she landed at 9:53 p.m. On Friday. So it was late in the evening. So what we can tell is that she was on standby. The reason that she was going, out to the same place, the Grove, she must have been staying there somewhere around that area. She felt safe there. It's very touristy. And then she was at the airport speaking with an American Airlines agent, and she was like, I want to get out of here. Like, and that kind of lines up with the frustration via the text messages. And then, on the 11th, it was just the strangest text, the most bizarre text. It caused such alarm in the family before we even knew something was wrong. And then, through our investigation, we were made aware of video footage of her on the metro late in the evening on the 11th and being, exiting the train at the Pico station at a very, the Pico station at 10 p.m. is terrifying. It's dangerous. There's no reason that Hannah would go there unless she was misled, unless she was forced to. Or unfortunately, now we're thinking unless she was drugged.
We obviously haven't been able to see the surveillance video. Police haven't released it. I'm just thinking all these places she was are the kinds of places there would be a lot of cameras. The subway station, the shopping center, the airport. Has the family been able to look at any of the video? Because, as a family member, you can tell if someone's acting strange or if something is up.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you, we don't want to hinder the investigation because it seems like the investigators are really starting to take us seriously now, which we are so grateful for. But what we can tell you is that it made us extremely alarmed to the point where we started sounding the alarm as loud as we could.
What, after seeing the video, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
After being made aware of the video.
Everyone's been so focused on the investigation, but tell us a little bit about Hannah, because it sounds like she was really excited to get to New York because this was a big deal job for her as a photographer, one of her first where she was going to make good money, it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to her a couple times that week, in depth about what she should bring, what she should wear, how was the weather in New York. That she called me up 2 weeks before that, and she's like, Auntie Ree, I got a press pass. I mean, that had been on her bucket list forever to get a paid, photography gig. She'd been working up to it for the past 5 years. And she had an itinerary that she sent her mom that was like detailed. It had, like whole agendas of where to eat, what museums to go to. She had a hotel room that she paid, a couple $1,000s that stayed empty the whole time.
It doesn't sound like she would have wanted to miss that trip.
No, and that's, like there's so much speculation out there, where a lot of the times when you hear a story like this, like, well, maybe she wanted to run away or maybe she wanted to, but what people don't realize is that she has, hundreds of friends that haven't heard from her either. No one has heard from her. Not a single person has heard from her. And that is unlike Hannah. Hannah checks in, like I said, I speak to her 2 to 3 times a week, about music, about dancing, about, a sunset that she saw. She's just that person. She's so communicative.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below.
Sorry, I couldn't make Ashley pause to save my life. I was trying.
Well, that's her job. Her job is to override your desire to cut her off.
Excuse me, ma'am. I remember you from the 80s and the 90s when you were actually doing real journalism. But that's another story. She used to be badass. I don't know what happened. She went into like weirdo stuff. But anyway, so her aunt, I believe that aunt lived in New York. I don't know if she lived in the area that Hannah was going to be flying into, but it doesn't see, like Danger said, what was she doing there alone? But you know what? If I flew in to a large city like that and I didn't know anything about the area and I had to wait for a connecting flight, am I going to venture off from the airport? You know what I mean? I'm going to stick close by. Well, me anyway. I'm just
well, her aunt said she was on standby. Excuse me. But so when you're on standby, you don't go anywhere from that gate.
Right.
if it's an hour before boarding, yeah, you might go down to a restaurant or bar in the airport and you might sit there for 30 minutes, but you come back to the gate, because when you're on standby, that means somebody who has a booked ticket didn't show up and you get to take their seat. So you don't go anywhere when you're on standby.
Because you need to be right there, right?
Yes. You
Yeah.
definitely don't leave the airport.
Yeah, I thought it was strange that she actually left the airport, and you kind of heard her aunt allude to a little bit there about the stuff being out there, that she just walked away from life. That's alluded to into the Twitter post, but I'm telling you, when I looked at her Facebook, nothing I saw was like extremely alarming that would tell me that she just decided, you know what, I'm in the US, I'm in LA, I'm checking out and I'm going to go do this now. And so this next piece is going to talk more in depth about those strange text messages that she was sending to the family, and then we'll look at those Twitter posts real quick. Let me get this up. Because the text messages that she was sending are completely strange. Even if it was her, it indicates that maybe she did have something going on, but I don't know if it was her or not. The family doesn't think it was her. So let's go with this.
In the case of a missing Maui woman who vanished after landing at LAX, her father has been found dead right near the airport. Loved ones say he took his own life. Fox 11's Haley Wizzo, she's live at LAX now with more tonight. Haley?
Marla, this is where things started to take a turn for the worse for Hannah Kobayashi when she missed her connecting flight on a quick layover, which then led to her disappearance in LA. Now, in a very disturbing turn, yesterday morning, about a mile away from here, her dad, who's been leading the search, took his own life.
This is almost too much for anyone to bear, but we're still here.
One tragedy on top of another. Ryan Kobayashi takes his own life after 2 weeks of exhausting the search for his missing daughter, Hannah.
He died of a broken heart. He broke. He mentally broke. And that's the thing. It's like, you don't know how you would react unless it was your daughter.
Right. Hannah's aunt, Laree Pigeon, says they are fully confident she is alive in LA, but not safe.
What makes you believe she's in extreme danger?
The family has fears of her being sex trafficked and being held against her will.
Without disclosing details that could jeopardize the case, Pigeon says people have most recently spotted the 30-year-old Maui woman around Metro's Union Station and, quote, it didn't look good. Before suddenly vanishing, Kobayashi was seen on video exploring the Grove, Crypto.com Arena, and back at LAX on November 11th, trying to rebook the connecting flight she missed 3 days earlier. Then her phone went dead. Described as a responsible, level-headed woman who sticks to her plans, last week, family and friends shared with us her final strange text messages they say sound nothing like her. Deep hackers wiped my identity, stole all my funds. And I'm just really scared, love, and the redwoods if calling me. I risk my freedom if this goes wrong for me, hun. The day after Hannah disappeared, her dad got on a plane, and Pigeon says was doing everything in his power to find her until he just couldn't take it anymore.
Mental illness is a thing. Sleep deprivation is a thing. Suicide is a thing. He never talked about himself. He never said if he was okay or not. It's almost like Hannah, if you met him, you just don't forget him. Yes, he was estranged from his daughter, but I would say it was more distant, and that guilt ate away at him as well. But he showed up when it mattered.
LAPD and the FBI, of course, have been on this case for the 2.5 weeks since she went missing. And more than donations to the GoFundMe, her family says they are in desperate need of more people volunteering their time to share her photo and her story in hopes of her coming home safe and sound.
So she sent a text claiming deep hackers were trying to steal her identity and her funds. She also sent a text stating something about somebody she thought she loved took all her funds. It's very strange. So if she if she missed her flight or whatever and then decided to spend 3 days kicking around LA, seeing things, and then she ends up back at the airport trying to rebook that same connecting flight. Why would you do that if you were trying to check out on life? Do you know what I mean? Or your life, and just wander off? It's crazy.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, Joe, like, what kind of state of mind would you have to be in? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. So let me stop this, and I'm going to go bring that up. Let me get this. She sent, I'm going to need to find all those bizarre all the texts. I don't know if they have them all in one place to go look at. Like I said, I just really started looking at this case more in depth once I realized what her father had done. But I had also seen these tweets that I'm about to show you guys. Hope he doesn't get mad at me, but at this point, I could care less. I've made videos on this person before. Just because I've seen some messiness in the past, and it really threw me off to see these particular things being tweeted. All right, let me pull this up. And this is from a Twitter account known as SF Investigates. I don't know how many of you are familiar with him and how many are not. I'm not saying he's right or wrong. Now, sometimes Steve will be hired by families to go out and help investigate and look for missing persons. Sometimes Steve takes it upon himself to go look for these missing persons. Chelsea Grimm was one of them. And what caught my attention when he made the first post about this, or really not the first one, but when he decided to step back from the case, I saw the same tweet come out in Chelsea's case, where all of a sudden he determined Chelsea walked away from her life and didn't want to be found. Then he made the same determination with Hannah. And I even made the comment, so that's the same thing you said about Chelsea Grimm. Then another bizarre tweet came after that, and then Hannah's dad is unalived himself. So let me start by... Okay, so this was a post from the 22nd, November 22nd. I finished searching for Hannah for the day and have decided to step back from the search altogether. I've seen so much of the evidence, and I now believe that there's a strong possibility that Hannah is seeking time alone and may be exploring a spiritual path. I guess you went and looked on that Facebook too. One detail that continues to raise questions is her travel itinerary. We were informed that she was flying from Maui to JFK via LAX. However, I've surveillance footage shows her deplaning at LAX without any bags, followed by footage of her leaving LAX baggage claim area with a suitcase and backpack displaying claim tickets. If her bags were only checked to LAX, then her ticket was only booked to LAX. By law, I'm sorry, I don't even know where I got that from. By law, passengers cannot check their luggage to a destination they are not traveling to. Now, let me ask you guys this. If she had a connecting flight, would they just transfer the luggage for you? I don't fly. So don't laugh at me. I don't know how this works at the airport.
Yeah, no, when you check your bags, you have your port of origin and you have your destination, and they will take your bags to your destination whether you get there or not.
Okay.
And if you get rerouted, sometimes they will reroute your bags and sometimes they will not reroute your bags.
Well, if she had a connecting flight she was already scheduled to catch, how could she go up and get her baggage then? You know what I mean?
It would have been very, very difficult and honestly almost impossible.
Okay. Because he's claiming that he is... Right. Well, he's claiming that he has seen surveillance footage of that. So if her bags were only checked at LAX, we just covered that, so I'm not even going to read that.
Right. If there's a layover, like if you're just going through LAX to another destination, then your bags will be inside of the airport facility. They will not go to a baggage claim. You're not going to go to baggage claim and pick them up if you had a second destination. Now, if your intention, international flights are different. You do have to pick up your bags for an international flight. I don't think Hawaii constitutes an international flight. So the airport just handles all of those bags internally. They do not put them out on the baggage claim you pick them up and you go on and you check back in. They do it themselves.
And it's because he says even if her bags were rerouted, this would mean she filed a report at LAX and remained there for at least 16 hours to retrieve the bags. So in his mind, bags and then went off about her little merry life on her journey. And to hell with her job that she had lined up to go do and the thousands of dollars on the hotel room. That's crazy. Additionally, Hannah posted on Instagram from an event at the Grove in Los Angeles. She had previously expressed a desire to visit the Redwoods in North Carolina. I'm sorry, North Carolina. I got the wrong glasses on, Joe. California. Citing a deep personal connection to the area. She even has a close friend posting and encouraging her to continue her path to stay on her journey. I don't know who that close friend is. I don't know where he got that from. I didn't have time today to really deep dive that person and find out what those posts were about. I don't know if they commented on her Instagram and, said something to her about continue your journey. If that's true, then somebody out there knew she was going to be on a journey.
Well, it's a very easily verifiable fact of whether or not LAX was a layover for her or was a transfer. So if she's on a layover, that means her ticket was from her original airport to somewhere besides LAX, and she was just landing in LAX to transfer, and the airport would have handled her bags. But it's possible that she said, I'm going to get to LAX, and once I get to LAX, I'm going to figure out how long I'm going to stay in LA, and then I will get a ticket from LA to wherever I am going next. And then she would have had to pick up her bags. So that seems like a pretty important point. Was LAX a layover for her, or was it an intermediary stop?
They say it should have been a small layover, and like she missed the flight to get to reboard to continue her travel onto New York, from what I could understand this morning when I was looking into things. And then because she missed that, then I guess she was booked to a connecting flight or, another flight. It doesn't make any sense. He goes on to say that to date, LA, let's see, I missed the whole part here. Despite media reports suggesting hard evidence that Hannah is being drugged and trafficked, the LAPD has classified her as a voluntary missing person. I haven't seen that either, but I didn't deep dive into it. If there were concrete evidence of abduction or trafficking, she would be categorized as endangered. Now, I agree with that if they had evidence something had happened, but too many times people discredit what families say when they say this woman wouldn't have taken off, this girl wouldn't have just ran away. They're discounted as that so quickly. So we've seen it so many times that, oh, she's just a runaway, she'll turn up later. Abby and Libby, where the whole missing thing was discounted in the beginning because they thought, oh, these girls could have been took off and they're at their friend's house, they'll be home later, per a law enforcement. It's like, no,
and
stop.
Lesenby said, in Carroll County, we have such a successful rate of returning runaways to their families that we weren't worried about it. He said that on camera.
Yeah. And we've seen so many cases where these women go missing and, oh, well, did she leave her life and abandon her kids and her husband? No, her husband killed her. We find out in the end. But in the beginning, it's like, oh, they just checked. Y'all quit thinking all of us women just want to check out. We might want to check y'all out, but we don't want to check out. Jesus Christ. Okay. I'm not saying she didn't. If she's on a spiritual journey, then that can take you any damn where. But
the first one that comes to my mind is Chris Watts.
Right?
She ran away.
Look, when I saw a lot of Hannah's posts on her Facebook, they were some of the same pages I have followed. Okay. I know about a spiritual journey. I never had to leave my home to acquire that journey. Not one time. I'm staying. I got children. I got things to do here at home. I can take my spiritual journey and do me all day long, but I get, being younger and want to travel and didn't have any kids. That's different. But I just don't know if she just checked out suddenly and decided to go off on a soul searching venture. I am not suggesting that the search for Hannah should cease. However, I personally feel uncomfortable continuing without clearer evidence that she is not a voluntary missing person. We cannot be certain of her circumstances. I would be deeply troubled to play a role in returning someone to a situation that they may be trying to escape. Where are you getting that information from, SF? I mean, what makes you believe that? I don't understand. To be clear, I have no definitive proof that she hasn't been abducted or is not being held against her will. She very well could be, but my professional instinct leads me to believe that the stepping back is the right course of action for now. If Hannah happens to see this message, I hope she understands that she can contact law enforcement to confirm her safety. It is not a crime to go missing, and law enforcement will not disclose her location if she is safe and capable of caring for herself. Now, he sure makes a lot of assumptions. Then he said, so he quote tweeted that particular post. And then he says, to clarify one thing, I do not believe this is a scam. I don't even know where that came from. I do believe that they are leaving out key details because they think they will lose public support. I think whoever is advising them is greatly hurting them. He's speaking about her dad and her aunt. Put out all the facts as they are known and don't craft a narrative. There is a reason law enforcement is silent, in my opinion. Lord. So if you go here and look at this one, he says, this one was, what did I say? The date was on this one. I didn't tell you guys. November 23rd. I'm getting messages from family of Hannah claiming I am saying that I am related to the family. I've never seen him say that, and doing a private investigation. And they said they want to control the narrative. I am not sure where they are getting the false information. Below are the 4 links to the 4 tweets I made about the case. A public plea was made to search for Hannah, and as a missing persons specialist and search and rescue specialist, I dedicated 2 8 to 10 hour days searching. 2 days of searching, he's concluded that she took off on her own. As an investigator, I asked questions and obtained information and imagery, etc. My tweets are my personal thoughts based on the evidence I've seen. I wonder what he's seen that the family hasn't seen. Did he not share it with the family and they are in a disagreement? I don't know. I never said the family is lying. I just pointed out in my professional opinion this is a voluntary missing case and nothing points to abduction or drugging. That all starts with the fact that her ex-boyfriend made the connecting flight, so there was enough time. Her ex-boyfriend made the connecting flight, but she didn't? Did he fly over there with her? What am I missing here? Your luggage is not sent back to your connecting city when you are on standby. There are 12 flights within 24 hours of LAX to JFK and AA that are not full, so she would have cleared the standby list. There is surveillance, which I have images from, of her in LAX baggage claim with her checked bags, all alone, using her phone. She attended at least 2 events hosted by LeBron James and Christina Ricci in Los Angeles. There is more that is personal, so I won't share, but I'm entitled to my professional opinion. A family should be searching, not controlling the narrative. Excuse me, they were searching. Wow. Damn. The narrative is what the narrative is. If you are controlling, it's not the actual truth. I wonder who's trying to control a narrative here. There is also a reason. That was my own commentary, sorry. I don't know when they broke up, Danger. I didn't even know he was there. There is also a reason that she is not listed as an endangered, missing, and there is, wow. So I didn't finish reading all of that earlier before we went to air with this, and no one's mentioned an ex-boyfriend, not the family that I've seen. Have any of you guys heard anything about a family member or an ex-boyfriend being with her on their travels? Because that would lead me to believe he flew with her to LAX or met her there. But if he was going to get a connecting flight, wouldn't he have had to flown in with her?
That's he in my professional opinion. So he is professing himself to be a professional missing persons seeker
Even
finder.
with that guy. Yeah. Because that's not the first time he's done this. And if you follow that account, you see all the stuff that has been tweeted in other cases. And the Sebastian Rogers stuff that's been going on. I low-key watch all that stuff because it's disgusting to me that this child's been 9 months missing now and hasn't been found, and will he be found this, hunting season and things of that nature. And I literally only watch one creator anymore when it comes to his stuff because she covers a little bit of what this drama ends up being, and I don't want to, but I don't know. I don't. He's just made those are bizarre tweets to me. You know what I mean? And then you end up with her father taking his life allegedly. Hang on, let me check something real quick. Someone just sent me something. Let me check it out real quick. It may be something. What is this?
So Forrest, if that was on her bucket list, why did she miss that layover? Why did she miss her connecting flight? And this dude that's a professional missing persons finder said that the boyfriend made the connecting flight. So
Yeah.
that doesn't make sense to me, just because, okay, if you're traveling in a pair, you're a couple and you're traveling together, one of you makes the flight and one of you doesn't, that's automatically assumed to be a voluntary missing person? Really? Nothing nefarious happened to her.
So, let me see. Okay, hold on. Oh, that's a friend on the Facebook page? Wow. And that person lives in LA. Let me see if I can. Oh, shit. Oh, sorry. I'm cussing. Y'all know me. I cuss. I'm salty as shit. Let me look at something. I'm trying to get something real quick for you guys. Wow, you're right, friend. Because you and I know about the spiritual journey stuff. And let me pull this up real quick. Let me get to my Facebook. Let me get off this Twitter. I want to show you guys something. She has an interesting friend on her friends list that would lend credence to the spiritual journey stuff. And they're located in Los Angeles.
I'm perfectly okay with her wanting to stop in Los Angeles and experience some form of her spiritual journey. That makes sense to me, but what doesn't make sense to me is the fact that that wasn't planned out in advance. So did she, on the spur of the moment, did she all of a sudden decide, hey, you go on to New York without me, and I'm going to stay here in LA and do some spiritual journey stuff? I mean, that it seems odd. I mean, it's possible, it's plausible, but it seems odd, especially like in the spur of the moment in LAX. Okay, we're going from gate A23 to gate C52 to make our connecting flight, and he makes it and she doesn't, and just on the spur of the moment decides to change. That does not make sense. Not a lick of sense.
No, it doesn't. Can you guys still
you
hear
don't. Yeah, I hear you.
I kicked myself. I lost my whole entire StreamYard page here. I don't know where I'm at. Oh, there I am. Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
You don't decide in the airport to stay in the city that you just landed in. If you want to stay there, you're like, when you're booking your flight, you're like, okay, I'll book my flight to New York from LA, after I've been there for a couple of days doing my spiritual journey stuff. You don't do it in the airport. If you have a connecting flight, there's no reason not to make your connecting flight except for some sort of mysterious mysterious reason.
Okay, so if I try to pull up this link that I was just sent, it throws me completely off on the computer. That she had a friend who appears to be like,
Oh gosh, Salty left me here all by myself. Salty, come back. Don't leave me. I absolutely knew nothing about this case except for what I had seen on mainstream media. So it's this is an interesting case. And it doesn't make sense. I guess that's probably the theme phrase from most of the stuff that Salty and I do together is make it make sense. Make Abby and Libby being abducted by a guy that was about their same height and their same weight. Make that make sense. He crossed a flooded creek with him. Make that make sense.
so
Are you back?
I am. I threw myself out again. I got to quit doing
You
that.
did.
I'm surprised I got back in. I was like, oh crap. Yeah, it's weird, Danger. You would think that that would be explored even by the family if it was a possibility. You know, I would look into every possibility. I'd be all over my child's Facebook and social medias and trying to figure out who they were speaking to, following, and different things of that nature just to get an idea. Or there's some strange stuff on social media that I don't mean to see sometimes that I just saw and I was like, what? Like, I don't even care about that. It's so bizarre. Yeah, interesting quote. Let me read that. Let's see. Let me get back to it. I quote others only in order the better to express myself. But, you know, I mean, like I said, you don't have to. I mean, if you want to go to these types of places and to do the meditation and all the and experience it with other people, that's fine and dandy. But I don't think you just simply check out like that. So without telling anyone, and, you know, like I don't think her family would have had a problem with her going to a place. Now, what if some of these places are not on the up and up? Do you know what I mean? Like, what if she did go there and then got there and realized, oh, this is not cool. They're out to steal my identity and my funds and all these things. It's such a weird, bizarre case. And the fact that allegedly there is a video of her out there, like in a store, buying a couple of drinks, and there's an unknown male with her. Who is he? Where did he go? When was the last time he saw her? Did law enforcement make contact with him? There's so many unanswered questions. Did he follow her father around and take an opportunity? You would think, though, if he was in a parking garage or a parking facility and he was able to leap down to his, jump to his death, there's cameras like everywhere around these types of things, right?
There have to be cameras.
So I guess he can probably be seen jumping instead of versus being pushed. I don't know. We'll have to look into a little bit more of that, guys, and we'll bring updates as they become available.
I'm really interested in that aspect of it because that is the first thing that cops do now in an investigation is they go up and down the area that is close to whatever incident happened and they ask people for videos. Do you have a video of this? Were you recording in this area at this time? That's the very first thing they do. And so if they don't have video of that from that time, that's very telling.
Yes. If there's even if you don't actually see the act, you're going to see him walking into the parking facility and all the things. There's just like so much. And I'm not familiar with that area, obviously, but I'm not an idiot. And even, our parking garages down by the courthouse and there's cameras. Could there be blind spots occasionally? Yeah, but for the most part, you're going to see somebody moving around, and there's so many cameras everywhere these days, right?
Yeah, and so when I went to Austin and I parked in a public parking garage to walk down to the Congress Avenue underpass where the trail goes under Congress Avenue, where
Mm-hmm.
a couple of bodies have been found. When I first got out of my car, the parking garage smelled like pee, and
Ew. Had my
I'm like,
sister been
okay,
there?
this is where the homeless people know that they're not on camera. So I moved my car.
Wow.
I moved my car to another area that didn't smell like pee because I'm like, okay, this is not an area that is out of the camera range. So I'm going to park
Right.
here.
Okay, that makes sense, because if they are just gonna urinate in there, then they're not being seen while they do it, I guess.
Right.
So they're
Yeah,
gonna go.
they're
Wow.
aware. They know where the cameras can see and where the cameras can't see from
Oh yeah.
experience.
Well, if you live on the streets like that, even just being in true crime, I always look for cameras everywhere I go. I can't help myself. I'm curious. But if you're on the streets and you're living like that, you're gonna want to familiarize yourself with all those things. Which, speaking of which, they know there's not a lot of cameras down there on that trail by Lady Bird Lake, don't they? Or somebody would. We noticed it right away.
I did not see a single camera. Now, if they had cameras mounted where the lights were, then I would have missed them, because at night you can't see where you're looking directly at a light. But I did not see cameras on that trail.
So if you guys weren't with us the other evening, Joe took a road trip, and he went down to Lady Bird Lake and walked up and down Rainy Street for a little bit, showed us some of the bars, and went down the path, and how dark it was. So I don't have a mod in here right now to drop a link, but at Joe Schmo is his YouTube channel. You can go over there and sub up and watch the video that the live we did the other night. And yeah, check all that stuff out. We're going to be doing a follow-up show on that, or have some stuff to work to bring pertaining to all that as well. So the next update I wanted to go into, let's see. Hello, Philip. Welcome in.
Hey, Philip. Good to see you.
Yeah, right. It shouldn't have been that difficult. Why, if like I can't so LAX has got to be a very large facility, right? So why would you leave if you were waiting for a connecting flight? That doesn't make any sense. There's just too much that doesn't make sense. So have you guys, let me get to my playlist here to pull this up. Okay. How many of you had followed the shooting of the former sheriff Mickey Stines shot and killed Judge Mullins in the judge's chambers in Kentucky? You guys have seen that story?
That is a crazy, crazy, crazy story, and it involves the daughter, I think, of the dude that pulled the trigger, right?
Well, that's the alleged rumor. So there's a couple of things, and I don't know if that's going to play a part in it or not now, because his attorney took this case right away, and he and his wife are law partners, and they're both on the case. So there is a rumor out there that allegedly the judge now this is all speculation, we do not know any of this for fact, that the judge was possibly having an inappropriate relationship with the sheriff's daughter. Also, the sheriff was involved in a civil suit, and the civil suit stemmed from sexual misconduct by one of his officers that occurred in the judge's chambers, with the judge not present. It was another officer, I think the bailiff at the time. Now, the sheriff used to be the judge's bailiff for years. Then he became the sheriff. Now he had a new bailiff, and that bailiff was allegedly having sexual relationships with a woman or multiple women in the judge's chambers after hours, because they were required to wear ankle monitors, and they would say they couldn't afford them, he would have them exchange favors in order to help them get their monitors put on so they could remain outside of jail versus in jail. Because if you can't afford the monitoring system, you got to stay incarcerated. So he actually, the bailiff in that case admitted to it. He pled guilty. And now there's been a civil suit filed by one of the women against the sheriff, Stines, for failing to train thoroughly his people. So he allegedly went a few days before the shooting and gave a deposition in that case. And then a couple of days later, he's having lunch with the judge and a few other people there in the town, tiny town. It got a little bit heated there. There was some I don't know really what the texts were, not between the judge and the sheriff, but another lady had sent some text alluding to there was like an issue with the judge and the sheriff. So the judge goes back to his chamber after the luncheon. The sheriff comes back as well, walks into his office, into the judge's chambers, and has some words with him. The sheriff tried to call his daughter from his own phone, and she didn't pick up. He then asked for the judge's phone. The judge hands him his phone. He hits the phone, and his daughter's cell number was programmed into the judge's phone. He calls the daughter from the judge's phone, and she picks up. That's what we have been told. Then the phone is laying on the desk. The sheriff pulls out his gun, starts to fire at the judge. You can see the phone on the desk start to light up as if someone's trying to call it. So then after he was indicted. So he was arrested immediately. He walked outside, put his hands up, and just surrendered and said, "Treat me fairly." That's what he asked. So then is incarcerated. Then the grand jury indicted him on murder charges. So he had an arraignment yesterday. He pled not guilty. And in Kentucky, they have a specific law that you can claim, and it is, I wanted to give you the wrong term for it. Where did I write that down? Let's see. It is like a mental distress situation in Kentucky that brought upon your rage against someone, like circumstances, right? But his attorneys afterwards have come out and said something about that deposition that he gave a couple of days before in the civil suit as to why he shot the judge. Did the judge know more about what was going on in his chambers and the sheriff knows it? That's where I'm at with that case.
There's
Go ahead.
There's something in Indiana that's called temporary insanity,
right?
Or heat of the moment. Like,
yeah,
if you are confronted with a situation, like you walk or you get home early from work and you walk into your bedroom and you see your wife in relations with another man, and you have a gun on you and you pick it up and you off them both, you actually have an argument for temporary. It's not literally temporary insanity, but it's like that helps you understand like what that legal argument is.
Yeah, Florida has that as well.
In the heat of the moment, yes. So, but if you have to walk, if your gun is not on your person and you have to walk to another room in the house and pick up your gun, and it's not loaded, so you have to find your ammo, and then you walk to the bedroom and then you kill them, there's a different defense to that, and it might still be kind of excusable. There's a period of time where you have the chance to cool down and get out of the heat of the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And where is that in this case? Where did he have that time to think it over before he pulled out his gun and he just shot the judge to death? Because we saw that video.
Between the luncheon and the chambers?
Yes. That is definitely enough time for you to cool down and for you to say to yourself, no, I shouldn't go kill this guy. Or he obviously talked himself into it. Yes, I'm going to go shoot this MFer in the face.
Well, if he was...
did.
if there's any truth to the rumors about the daughter, I mean, that's enough to this is one of your closest and oldest friends that could cause you to react, but you're the
Right, but
sheriff,
does that
judge, you know better.
exactly? And does that increase your window of opportunity for that to be in the heat of the moment from
Yeah.
15 seconds to 15 minutes? No. It
Yeah,
doesn't go
I'm
from 15 seconds to 15 minutes.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see where his lawyer takes this. You know what I mean? What kind of defense they can give him, and what the motive was for what he did. Yeah, the footage was alarming. I think that it may actually show some of this. This is a piece from Law and well, let's see, where did I go with it? No, what I just had 4 days ago. No, that isn't it. Where'd it go? Okay, let me see if this is the right one I wanted to share with you guys. It should be. Well, if I can get it to play, hold on. I got a good signal. I don't. Oh, whoa, she yelled at me. Sorry, that's you. I didn't have that video on mute when it started. This is a piece from Crime Fix that we're going to review, and it gives us a pretty good little backstory here as to what's going on. Let me get this screen up. And when I start this, I'm going to step away for like just a few seconds to go grab some fresh coffee. But let me get this up, and I'll start it. Let me back it up because it. Okay.
The sheriff's.
Oops, sorry.
In my chambers. That's all I was told.
The murder of Judge Kevin Mullins has rocked a small Kentucky town and shocked the world as the county's sheriff stands accused of the crime caught on camera. A hearing offers possible clues about a motive.
Have officers confirmed that the sheriff's daughter's phone number was on Judge Mullins' phone?
And the death of the man he once called a friend, plus Stines' lawyers are here.
You would not believe the outpouring of expressions of support for Sheriff Stines.
Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Anjanette Levy. The shooting of District Judge Kevin Mullins in Letcher County, Kentucky is a case that has shocked people not only in the town where the murder took place, but also around the world. Letcher County's now former sheriff, Mickey Stines, is charged with murdering Mullins on September 19th. The case is shocking because first, you have a sheriff accused of murdering someone and doing it in a public place, in a courthouse. And second, Stines and Mullins were longtime friends. At one time, Stines had worked as Mullins' bailiff. The two often went to lunch together and had that day before Stines pulled his gun on Mullins and started firing at him in his chambers. These were two men that were friends, but something had to have gone terribly wrong. We just don't know what. But we got some possible clues at Stines' preliminary hearing, and some of what we heard might lend credence to rumors that have swirled around the small town of Whitesburg, Kentucky. If you've ever been to a small town, you know people talk, and there have been a lot of rumors floating around about what could have prompted Mickey Stines to start shooting at Judge Mullins. Kentucky State Police tell me they're investigating every possibility. In the background of all of this case is a civil lawsuit. Sheriff Stines had been deposed in that suit days earlier. One of his former deputies, Ben Fields, was convicted of raping and sodomizing a former inmate named Sabrina Atkins in Judge Mullins' chambers, where there weren't any cameras present when it happened in 2021. Atkins' suit accuses Sheriff Stines of ignoring the behavior. But what led Sheriff Stines to draw his gun and fire at someone he considered a friend? That's the million-dollar question. In a stunning moment at Stines' preliminary hearing, the Commonwealth played the video of Stines shooting Mullins as Mullins' family sobbed in the courtroom. Mullins tried to shield himself. We've frozen the video before the shots were fired.
Hey, were you able to identify the party that we saw in that video?
That was Sheriff Mickey Stines and Judge Kevin Mullins.
And also, who had the firearm?
Sheriff Stines.
And then Judge was also in his black robe.
Yes.
Do you know what portion of the courthouse that is?
That is the judge's chambers.
And where's that located at, physically located?
In the Letcher County Courthouse.
The direct examination was incredibly brief. The burden at a preliminary hearing is probable cause. It's a low standard. So the Commonwealth's attorney opted to just play the video and ask a couple of questions and let the video speak for itself. Stines appeared to rub his eyes as that video played. Then the defense cross-examined lead detective Clayton Stamper about what was on the video before the shooting. It was described as a meeting between Mullins and Stines.
It was a short clip that was played there. How long do you believe that clip was?
That we just watched?
Yes, sir.
Just 10 seconds, 15 seconds.
10, 15 seconds. In fact, the video that was taken in the judge's chambers between the meeting between Sheriff Stines and Judge Mullins, it's my understanding that video lasted much longer, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And have you had an opportunity to review the video
I have.
of the prior incident?
I have.
And can you describe for us what happened immediately?
Just for a little context, the girl sitting behind him with the long black hair, that's his daughter. That's Mickey Stines' daughter. So
prior to the clip that we saw?
Sheriff Stines uses his telephone to make some phone calls. He then borrows Judge Mullins' cell phone and appears to make a call on that. And that led to what you just saw.
Okay.
Now, there's no audio on the video, and it came out that Judge Mullins was meeting with a few people before Stines came into his chambers.
There's about approximately 4 people in there. Then Sheriff Stines enters the judge's chambers, and everybody else clears out.
You don't know their names?
Not right off, no.
Have you prepared? You're in the process of preparing a report?
Yes, a lot of information.
But you've not spoken to any of those witnesses?
I've not directly, but they've all been interviewed. There's recorded interviews of those people in the case.
Okay, so other officers have spoken with those 4 witnesses?
Yes.
And what is your understanding of what those 4 witnesses have said?
I don't recall.
You have no idea what they said?
No.
Now, it's interesting that there is a surveillance camera in Judge Mullins' chambers now, but back in 2021, when Ben Fields was having sex with the former inmate, there wasn't. The cross-examination of Detective Stamper continued. Judge Mullins and Sheriff Stines had had lunch earlier that day.
So where did this take place?
It's a restaurant called Street Side, and it's just down the street from the courthouse.
Okay. And it's my understanding there were a couple of other people who attended the luncheon?
There were several, yes.
Okay. And at some point after that, they wrapped up lunch and left, obviously, and went back to the courthouse. Are you aware of anything so far in your investigation that would tell us there was any issues at lunch between Judge Mullins and Sheriff Stines?
No.
Okay. Someone on behalf of the KSP has spoken to those witnesses?
Yes, they've all been interviewed.
And there was nothing unusual that had arisen during that luncheon?
I was told that the judge made a statement to Mickey about, do we need to meet private in my chambers? That's all I was told.
Do you know the context of what the conversation was before that they would need to discuss in chambers?
I do not.
It doesn't matter who someone is and what their job might be. You have to make sure the people you surround yourself with are safe. Our sponsor, truthfinder.com, can help you with that. Truthfinder is one of the largest off of confidential background reports. Log on to www.truthfinder.com/LCCrimeFix. Log on and start accessing information about almost anyone. Stines' defense attorney, Jeremy Bartley, who you'll hear from shortly, along with his co-counsel, Carrie Bartley, questioned why only a portion of the video showing the shooting was shown in court.
So it's my understanding that in the larger portion of the video that we haven't had access to, that there is a point when Sheriff Stines asked for to see the telephone of Judge Mullins.
Yes.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And I would presume that you and the other officers you mentioned, when you secured the scene, that you secured those phones as well. Is that correct?
Yes.
And have you reviewed both of those phones?
They're currently at the forensic lab at this time being downloaded. I have had discussions with the people at the lab regarding the downloads.
And those are a couple of other questions that I was going to ask you, but my original question was, have you reviewed or are you aware of the content of the phones?
I've not personally seen it because I've not received those reports yet.
Okay, again, based upon your conversations with the officers, are you aware of any recent content that was up and could have been relevant at the time of their discussion?
I was told that Sheriff Stines had tried to call his daughter, and he had tried to call his daughter from the judge's phone also.
So, have you obtained the phone records from Judge Mullins' phone?
I don't have those in my possession yet, no.
Okay. Have you issued a search warrant for them?
Yes.
Okay. And have officers confirmed that the sheriff's daughter's phone number was on Judge Mullins' phone?
Yes, I believe so, yes.
So that number had been called from Judge Mullins' phone,
yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
So why was Sheriff Stines calling his own daughter from Judge Mullins' phone? We don't know. That's part of the small town rumors that are circulating and that Kentucky State Police are investigating.
So we don't have a viewing of what transpired during that exchange of phones. But based upon your review of those moments prior to that cell phone, was he previously seated?
Yes.
Okay, so in the clip we saw him standing the entire time.
He was seated in front of the judge's desk.
And he looks at the cell phone. Can you describe his reaction in the video that we haven't seen?
Okay, remember a little bit ago, when they were at the lunch, it was reported that the judge did ask Stines, do we need to have a discussion in my chambers after this? So apparently that's what he went to do, was have a discussion with the judge. What were they discussing? I don't know.
Never know what happens in a judge's chambers in Kentucky.
I know. Dude, don't trust your soul to no backwoods Southern lawyer. The judge in the town's got bloodstains on his hands. I mean, come on.
That's one of my favorite songs.
I know, mine too. I know every word of it by heart. I mean, both versions, Reba's and Vicky's.
Reba's is my favorite.
Well, the sheriff.
Mine too. Not gonna lie.
You can't see his face in the video.
Okay, but is it clear does it appear to you that, let me rephrase this. Did he stand up after looking at the phone?
He stood up.
And how long after he looked at the cell phone and stood up did this occur that you played?
Just seconds.
And there was another curious question from the defense.
Are you aware of any criminal reports that Sheriff Stines had made of Judge Mullins prior to this day?
No.
Was Sheriff Stines investigating his friend for something? Stines' lawyers tell me they're looking into the possibility that Stines had filed a report about Judge Mullins.
He would.
Oh, snap. I like to see that report and see what it said. Ugh.
It was mostly calm, I thought. I mean, I talked to him, but he didn't say nothing about why this had happened. But he was calm. He was kind of afraid that basically all he said was, treat me fair. That's basically the comments he made.
Okay. Did he also make a statement about, I didn't see it in the citation here, but somewhere along the line I saw a statement being attributed to him about protecting his family?
I wasn't present, but when he was taken into custody, I was told by one of the other officers that were there that he made the comment, "They're trying to kidnap my wife and kid."
Detective Stamper said they have not gathered any information at this time that the
Now, isn't that a curious statement to make if that's what he said? They're trying to kidnap my wife and kid. Is that the ramblings of a man with a mental illness, or is that a fact? I don't know. That's an odd statement to make.
shooting was pre-planned. The judge ruled there was probable cause to find Mickey Stines had committed the murder. Stines has retired in light of his being charged with murder. His case will now go to the grand jury. Jeremy and Carrie Bartley are actually representing Sheriff Stines. Thank you so much for coming on. First of all, how is Sheriff Stines doing? He seemed pretty stoic, except for maybe rubbing his eyes a couple of times when the tape played in court yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's doing as well as can be expected under the circumstances. I think that he is certainly taking everything in at this point, and he's doing okay. He's okay.
So many people are asking why. I mean, it's clearly on the videotape. He's pleaded not guilty in the lower court, but why? That's the big question. And you asked a number of questions under cross-examination yesterday, Jeremy, about the daughter, about her phone number being in Judge Mullins's phones. Where were you going with that line of questioning? There's been a lot of talk in that small town, but not a lot of concrete answers about what may have been the impetus for this.
Well, I mean, our investigation is still ongoing, and I would hope, given the incomplete answers we got yesterday, that law enforcement's investigation is ongoing. At this point, we don't have a complete picture, but what I think was apparent very early is that there was a sudden inflammation of of emotion that transpired in the moments just before the tape came on in the clip that we saw. And so this tape was edited to cut out anything that happened just prior. And we think the moments just prior were.
Lord, when are we going to stop? I hope they don't put an edited version in the court. I mean, when they go to trial, if it goes to trial. So tired of these edited videos for trials. We need to not do that. Not do that.
If I'm on the defense, then I'm like, how did you edit that? How exactly did you enhance that?
Right. Yeah. I need to.
In Abby and Libby's case, I don't think that Rosie and Baldwin explored that quote unquote enhanced video enough.
No.
How? And
not
why?
even close.
Yeah.
Yeah, because all that matters. You know what I mean? We can't be having enhanced thing. Now, this, I don't think they really enhanced anything. I think they just kind of edited it to show what they wanted to show, which was what actually occurred. And I'm not saying that this sheriff is justified for what he did, but did something lead up to cause him to get that angry? Certainly could have. I'm from small town America in the deep South. I'm below the Mason-Dixon line, and men tend to usually, sometimes they want to handle stuff on their own. I don't know what set him off to that, but being the sheriff, you know better. You know you're going to have consequences. You know you're about to take someone's life, or the possibility. So I don't know. That these attorneys are alluding that something did occur to get him to that level. I mean, of course, something got him there, but like it was in their discussion, something came out that really caused him. And he didn't just shoot once and walk out of the room. He continued to shoot and then went back and shot again. Like he was making sure that guy was gone. And I took a little deep dive into the judge and to the sheriff when this first happened. And it's really quite remarkable because the judge has done a lot of really good things in that county. He was well liked, well loved, well respected. He did a lot of good things and put a lot of programs in place to help, like drug offenses. You get drug court in Florida where you're not actually incarcerated for your entire time. You can actually go through Excuse me, my son's calling. I'll call him right back. I'll text him. You can do the drug rehab and you do the drug programs and things like that to keep you out of jail while you're completing those programs. And the judge set those types of things up. So it's really bizarre. I'll let this finish while I call my kid back or while I text him.
I don't know at this point what ultimately was on that phone. They're examining the phones, but we believe that based upon the statements that our client made just following arrest, as well as the indication that there was this exchange of phones or viewing of phones, that something in that moment made our client feel that there was no other choice than to do what he did.
So it almost sounds like you think he snapped. I mean, this was a reaction.
Well, yeah, and that would be textbook extreme emotional disturbance with the textbook example always of finding your significant other with someone else, and in the moment, in the older case law, they refer to it the heat of passion, and that's pretty much the same line of reasoning that extreme emotional disturbance follows.
There was discussion that he said something about protecting his wife and daughter, or he was concerned about his wife and daughter. And then you were able to elicit that under the questioning of the lead detective, that the daughter's number, and she's a minor from what I understand, her phone number was in Judge Mullins's cell phone. I don't know if that would be unusual since they had been friends for many years. Can you elaborate on that for us? What was going on with the daughter's phone number being in Judge Mullins's cell phone?
Now, candidly, I believe that the officer testified that he believed that our client made a call from the judge's phone. So whether or not there was a call, I mean, we'll have to await the cell phone records to determine. But there was obviously, if in fact it is true that what the officer said, that the daughter's number was dialed during this period of time, and you take that in companion with the statement that our client felt like his wife and his daughter were in danger, then we think certainly there is something there that is going to support our contention that Mr. Stines felt as though he had to act. Now, what that looks like objectively is
used for communication. I mean, it seems to me you could draw an inference that Judge Mullins potentially may have been communicating with Sheriff Stines' wife or daughter. Do you know that to be true?
I have no objective facts that would lead us there, or that would anything other than, of course, there's plenty of speculation. And so I'm just asking the questions. At this point, I'm asking the questions to try and determine, A, what the objective truth is, right? But if you look at that statute, the statute is in reference to what our client's subjective belief was at the time that he acted. And so you actually, everyone wants to know the objective why, but for us, we want to know the objective truth. But the important thing ultimately for the trial is, what did our client believe? And so to answer your question more succinctly, I do not have any basis now to make any conclusion about the phone number or any interaction, other than it appears that our client made the statement that he was concerned about the safety of his wife and daughter.
Do we know, either Carrie or Jeremy, why Sheriff Stines decided to use Judge Mullins's phone instead of his own? We know you said that he did use his phone and then use the judge's phone.
Yeah, that is another reason why the phones are going to be so important in this case. And until we have back the forensic review of the phones, all of the phones, and in fact, I think we learned that there was another phone that was seized or maybe turned over from an employee of the sheriff's that we were not aware of before we were going into the hearing yesterday. All of those phones are going to become critical. And at this point, we just don't know.
The Bartleys say they're investigating everything, including whether the civil suit involving former Deputy Fields played a role.
We have to ask the question, since the allegations involve the same chambers, the same location that this incident took place in. And, I'm still struck by how unusual it is that you have a live recording of a judge's chambers going on. Most of the time, if you have cameras in a judge's chambers, they are only on if you're having a hearing. And at that point, they're initiated by a court staff, and then they are turned off by a court staff, and they include audio. But I don't know of another judge that would have had a video camera recording him 24/7 or 9 to 5, however long he's in the office. Now, we've had some information that these cameras were put up after the lawsuit and after the conviction of a deputy for some sexual crimes that he committed in the judge's chambers, these same chambers. So again, we're asking the questions too. And so far, no one will give us the answers.
There are a lot of rumors floating around that small town, and one of them has to do with Sheriff Stines' daughter. And we know that she was interviewed by law enforcement in the presence of her mother. Do we know, is there any indication that there's some investigation going on related to that? Kentucky State Police have kind of said they are looking into kind of everything and whether or not there may have been something going on that was untoward with his daughter. Are you aware of anything?
We await the results of the investigation ourselves. I don't know anything more than we heard yesterday at the hearing in terms of what that evidence may look like. We don't know. I mean, we're not at this point. We're not making that allegation at all. We are trying to understand why our client felt that he had to protect his wife and daughter, as he told the officers that day. And, that could be one.
It would not pause. So I have to, now, since this particular piece went to air, they've had the grand jury indictment and they had the arraignment yesterday. This attorney has now come out and said that whatever that was said or done in that deposition a few days before the shooting that is pertained to the civil case of the sexual misconduct, that's going to play a part in this defense as well, now that he's gotten all the more information. I was like, man, is this a weird conspiracy theory thing where maybe the judge knew more about what was going on in his chambers during the sexual misconduct? And then we hear about the threats towards Stines' daughter, wife and daughter. Were they threatened if you don't back off, kind of thing? That's where my mind went. What do you guys think? What do you think, Joe?
If you're a judge and you don't know that a deputy is screwing a prisoner in your chambers, you're either incompetent or incompetent and ignorant and an idiot. I mean, right? There's no way. There's no way. People. Well,
they said it. They said, well, to be fair,
they said sex in your chambers.
Well, they said that all that took place after hours, like the judge was already gone home for the day, but where there's no security walking around town, or no police. I mean, if you're a cop, maybe you can sneak in there and get away with things. But yeah, I had a hard time buying the judge wasn't aware.
Yeah, I have a totally hard time buying that, because that deputy is not keeping that a secret. He doesn't go in there with a prisoner who needs an ankle monitor or whatever and have sex with her, and he's the only one that knows about it, and she's the only one that knows about it.
Right. No. And how would you manipulate the system? Was he paying for their monitors himself, or was he manipulating the system, make it look like they did? Like, there's a weird there's something weird about that process. You know what I mean? Because it is a process to fill out the paperwork and to get your monitoring systems. So how did they pull that off?
This is systemic corruption from the bottom to the top. I'm sorry, this is systemic. The judge all the way down to the deputies, they're all corrupt. They're all corrupt. And I'm saying this without any proof of that. So
it's your opinion.
Whatever, but yes, it's my opinion is they're all the fuck corrupt in this in this particular county, in this court system. For a deputy to take a prisoner in there and to have sex with her and nobody else knows about it and the judge doesn't know about it. Maybe he hears about it at parties, but he hears about it at parties. Like he does. He knows. Just look at the picture of him. I mean, look at his picture. He knows about it. He does.
He's I don't mean to make, because the man's no longer with us and he had a family, but he looked kind of goofy. I mean, not like that, but like just there was something about him. I couldn't put a finger on it that I just couldn't trust 100%. Even when I watched the videos and things I came across where he was doing such a good job as a judge and sitting next to the women that benefited from the programs he had in place, I couldn't help but getting a weird feeling. I'm not justifying what the sheriff did. We don't know what caused it yet, or what led up to all of that. But yeah, what's going on here in this small town and what's being covered up, or
you don't take a female prisoner into a judge's chambers to have sex with her unless you know that it's okay. You don't do that as a deputy. Like if you're going to have sex with a female prisoner, where are you going to go? You're going to go to a back alley. You're going to go to somewhere in the jail that doesn't have a camera. You're going to go anywhere but a freaking judge's chambers.
Yeah, there's a lot of options, right? You're right.
Yes.
You're right. There's so many other options available.
Everybody knew about it. This is systemic. This entire system is corrupt. The entire community is corrupt. And I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. The judge knew about it. Whether he had direct knowledge of it, I'm not gonna assess that. But he definitely knew that there's something fucking going on, because you can't take a prisoner into a judge's chambers without somebody knowing about it.
Yeah, I found that very disturbing when the case first happened, and I was like, "What? Into the chambers? Like, of all places, you would go there and take the risk that the maintenance man or the night crew or somebody would find you in there? Why would you choose that location, that office, that spot inside the courthouse?" Was baffling to me. Like, is your town so small you couldn't sleep? Come on now, we got woods in small towns. There's plenty of dirt roads to get lost off on, plenty of places to go. You could have went to her house and done the deed, or crazy. Well, have to keep an eye on that case as it progresses. I don't know when his next court appearance is yet. It's kind of hard to get Kentucky records like we do with like the Idaho case. That so easy peasy. I wish they all did it like Idaho. It was a little difficult in Delphi, but there were people who were always on that. So I'm going to try to keep up with them, because I have followed that case since it happened, and I do keep up with what's going on with it. So as it progresses, we'll bring updates onto that case as well. But it's really a interesting topic there, because there's just so many different possibilities, right, that could occur. All right, speaking of Delphi, guys, do you know who Shane Meehan is, correct?
Are you asking me?
Because you in chat, I think you do.
Yeah.
You know, right? You are, yeah. So I'll give you guys a little background on who Shane Meehan is. Shane Meehan was a former Indiana corrections officer who gunned down Officer Greg Ferency in Terre Haute, Indiana. Did I pronounce that correct, Joe? Terre Haute. How do you say it?
Haute. Rhymes
Haute.
with goat.
Okay,
Terre Haute.
I don't want to mispronounce that or Monon. Okay, because I took a lesson in Indiana
Yes.
talk.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I've been practicing. So, okay, he gunned down Officer Greg Ferency in the Terre Haute. He was an FBI agent. He also was an investigator at the police department there, but he also worked on the FBI task force. The task force that he worked on was one of 3 men investigating the Odin angle in the Delphi investigation. Now, we all saw what just happened. If you were following the Delphi trial and what was going on pre-trial, you know who Todd Click was also one of the officers investigating the Odinite angle and was supposed to come and testify in the trial. But lo and behold, Nick McClellan, the prosecution over there, done found some dirt on him and got him into some trouble, and he didn't testify. That's still an ongoing case, and it looks like that some of that stuff may get thrown out, interestingly enough. Anyway, so this particular Shane Meehan gunned down Officer Ferency, and he was one of the 3 working on the task force. So let me read you the indictment. On or about July 7th, 2021, in the Southern District of Indiana, defendant Shane Meehan, with malice, aforethought, and acting willfully, deliberately, maliciously, and with premeditation, did unlawfully kill Greg Ferency, task force officer for the Federal Bureau of Investigations, an officer and employee of the United States, while Greg Ferency was engaged in and on account of the performance of his official duties, because he was actually in the FBI field office when this occurred. That was for count 1. Let's see, let me go back up. I didn't finish reading it. An officer of the United States, while Greg Ferency was engaged in and on account of the performance of his official duties by shooting Ferency, causing him to die. On or about July 7th, Shane Meehan attempted to maliciously damage and destroy by means of fire and explosive a building, vehicle, and other personnel and real property in whole and in part owned and possessed and leased to the United States. So what he did actually was he approached the building and he threw a Molotov cocktail inside. As the officers that were in the building come out, he gunned down Officer Ferency. Gunfire was exchanged between him and another officer, and Meehan was wounded in the altercation. He drove himself to the hospital to seek help, and they found him. So, vehicle, personal property in whole and in part owned and possessed by and leased to the United States, located at 21 Wabash Avenue in Terre Haute, Indiana. Then count 3 says that he used a firearm, to wit, a Smith & Wesson 45 caliber handgun, during and in relation to a crime of violence in which the defendant may be prosecuted in the court of the United States. During the offense, Meehan discharged the Smith & Wesson 45 caliber handgun and caused Greg Ferency by the death of Greg Ferency by murder. Notice of special findings. The allegations in this indictment are hereby realleged and incorporated herein by reference as it is fully set forth. The grand jury finds, pursuant to Title 18 of the U.S. Codes, I'm not going to recite all those, statutory factors enumerated under Title 18. Meehan was 18 years of age or older at the time he committed the crime in defense of the indictment. Initially inflicted serious bodily injury that resulted in the death of Ferency. So this goes on to outline his charges. But the thing is, we're going to take a look real quick at, let me get to that, a little bit of the, let me pull that up. Okay. Oh, I didn't have my screen showing you guys that indictment. I'm so sorry. I didn't even look up and see it. I was just reading. I'm going to show you this, though. This is going to come right out of the Frank's motion. that was filed in the Delphi case. Let me get to the right page because I don't want to. It's like a 137-page deal, but we're not going to go too far down. But it was just surprising to a lot of us that he was taken out like that, considering then when I realized that Meehan was a former corrections officer, and we know that once they sent Rick to prison, he was guarded by Odinus, right? Odinus guard. And then here you have this is a former corrections officer also, and he isn't alive, one of the members working on the task force. Now, the strange part is, if y'all followed the Delphi case and you followed the trial, we saw all the talk about the confessions that were given by Rick, and his mental capacity came into question. Was he fully aware of what he was saying and doing and all the things? And we saw Wallace's testimony, and they allowed all that into court, all those confessions, and said, oh no, he's fine, he's not sick, he's 1 minute he's fine, 1 minute he's not. But in this case of Shane Meehan, he was just found incompetent to stand trial for the murder of Greg Ferency. And apparently after due diligence and numerous meetings with psychologists within the system, they determined he was not fit to stand trial at this time. They are going to reevaluate him again to see if he becomes competent at a later date, which is odd if you look at the Delphi case and you see the similarities in the two cases, or the fact that Ferency worked both, that was in on the Delphi case. It just was, the timing of his murder was odd. The whole thing was odd. Let me get this screen up. And this was part of the Franks motion in the Delphi case. There was apparently a 12-page Odin report. And as part of discovery, the defense received a 12-page Word document that provided a summary of Trooper Kevin Murphy's investigation of the Odinite angle. Over time, for reference purposes, the defense has come to call this document the Odin Report. Therefore, to more clearly reference this document throughout the rest of the memo, the defense will use the moniker Odin Report when discussing this report. The Odin Report was created by Indiana State Trooper Kevin Murphy, who thankfully was independently curious. The Unified Command through Liggett and Hammond had concluded by March 2017 that Brad Holder should be cleared as a suspect, as detailed later. Unified Command had claimed that it had concluded very early on, probably March 2017, that Odinites were not involved, as discussed earlier, despite Liggett and Holman clearing Holder as a suspect in March 2017. And despite a mystery Purdue professor, danger, ding, 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 we figured that guy out quickly, didn't we? You did. Professor dismissing all links between Odinism and the murders. Murphy pressed on. Murphy began investigating a man named Elvis Fields down in Rushville, Indiana, 126 miles away. The fruits of this investigation ultimately boomeranged Murphy, as well as law enforcement officers Greg Ferency and Todd Click, back to Holder, and therefore back to Odinism. Murphy, Ferency, and Click dogged pursuit of the truth is what we citizens and those accused of crimes should expect out of our law enforcement. These honorable law enforcement officers were knocking on doors and conducting interviews, going where the evidence led them. Immediately following an interview, Murphy would reduce key aspects of that interview into a Word document. Over time, the Odin Report grew from a single page from his first interview with Mary Jacobs, which was the sister of Elvis Fields, to 12 pages, with last pages used for summing up his thoughts from all interviews he had conducted. The defense has attached this document to this memorandum. We have not been able to see that yet. Surprisingly to Murphy, even though he was handling handing over to Unified Command powerful evidence that really painted a clear picture of who was involved in the murders, Holman and Liggett did not seem interested. Eventually, Murphy said that Unified Command phased out the Odenite Rush County angle. Murphy figured that his phasing out was due to Unified Command knowing things that he did not know. That eliminated the Odinism angle. Murphy further stated, I kind of took my marching orders and just did what I was told and went there as I was needed. In other words, Murphy trusted that Unified Command was doing the right thing. Now, at some point after the arrest of Rick and all this stuff was taking place and all the craziness that Judge Gull was doing, Todd Click served them with a registered letter to say, hey, look, y'all, this needs to be looked into, and they still wouldn't do it. But the point is that Ferency was a part of that task force investigating that angle, and then mysteriously ends up murdered by a former corrections officer. I don't know if Meehan had any ties to Odinism like Randy Jones did, who was guarding Rick in prison, but I just found it very strange. And then the fact that they've decided that he doesn't have to stand trial for what he did because he's now found mentally incompetent. That's crazy to me. Any thoughts, Joe? Sure, you've got plenty on that.
Yeah, it's all crazy. It's all crazy.
It is. It really, really is. And I don't know, I'm assuming Dr. Walla was not the one looking into Meehan to see if he was incompetent or not. And I'm being a smart ass when I say that because I don't know. I'm going to have to look into that a little more and see. We'll follow it and keep up with it. But is it going to go away like the Click stuff might be going away now that the trial's over? And it's like, what else are you guys going to do? I don't even know if they're tied together at this point, or Meehan actually ended up trying to run for sheriff at one point, I believe. And so how all of a sudden this man goes from normal to psychotic, and now he's too psychotic or too crazy to stand trial. That doesn't make sense. But then again, we're dealing with Indiana where nothing makes sense.
And his wife filed for divorce, I think, about a year ago, I think. So
it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. It sucks, but it's a reality of life. I mean, but especially for a law enforcement officer. I mean, if he isn't involved in something that's crazy.
Yeah.
Danger. There the dog.
Yeah, I did hear the dog. What's she after?
All right, I'm gonna mute. For a second.
You're good. Danger. There's actually a couple attorneys who are up in arms about it. Legit. There's some new stuff going down on Twitter I saw earlier, and I need to look into a little more about some complaints being filed against the Carroll County Courthouse, or Judge Gull specifically. We know that Andrea Burkhart filed, before the end of the trial, I believe she filed to try to get the to get access, to everything going on, and she was turned down. So they are out there trying to take action, but if it's not 100% foolproof, they're just getting the door slammed in their face at each and every turn. It's crazy. Now, what will be interesting is I think that Nick McClellan has filed to get the transcripts for a defense witness, that testified. So everybody's like, well, does that mean we're all going to be able to get the documents now for $1? Because the way it's done in Indiana, when you first, apply for the transcripts, Joe's gotten transcripts from hearings there in Indiana before. When you go, and Sleuthy and them were trying to get transcripts from the 3-day hearing. So when they approached to get that, it was going to cost thousands of dollars. But once the first FOIA is initiated, then it drops that price way down. I don't think Judge Gull should charge anybody for transcripts of the trial. I get that it costs money to print and you got to have somebody to do it and all the things. Well, pay them. That's your job. But the public has the right to access that material. So let them have it. Why keep all that secret?
Right.
It's
So you have
insane.
two different processes. So you have the process number one of transcribing the court record into a written format, and that is paid on an hourly basis for some court clerk somewhere to
Mm-hmm.
take the audio and put it into record form.
Yeah.
And that's thousands of dollars. That's depending on how long the hearing is, that could be $1,000, $2,000, $3,000. But once that is actually transcribed, then you pay $1 per page for the transcripts after somebody pays for it to be transcribed.
Right, that's what I thought mine. And Joe's our resident Indiana guy, so he knows what he's talking about. He's I've learned a lot just listening to Joe talk about how things actually operate there. And like I said, he was able to get transcripts from that mega 3-day hearing before trial. So we're all waiting to see if we can get our hands on the, I don't know if they're going to wait and do that after sentencing, if they'll release some of those transcripts finally. We'll have to wait and see. I do got a little 1-minute piece here I'll show you guys on Meehan, and then we're going to move into our last topic of the day before we call it a day.
A man accused of killing a local police officer appeared in federal court today. Shane Meehan is accused of murdering Terre Haute Police Detective Greg Ferency. Since his arrest in 2021, Meehan has undergone mental health analysis to determine if he is able to stand trial. News 10's Ben Verbanek was in Indianapolis today and sat in on today's hearing. He explains what happened.
Shane Meehan was only in court today for about 20 minutes. He was shackled and showed little emotion throughout the proceedings. The purpose of today's hearing was for a judge to determine if Meehan was mentally competent enough to stand trial. After reviewing reports from multiple court-approved psychologists, the judge decided that Meehan is not competent enough to stand trial. At least for this ruling was fairly straightforward. The judge has spent time reviewing multiple reports and evaluations from clinical psychologists. There was one specific report the judge says gave substantial weight to his decision. According to the report, a doctor spent long periods of time with Meehan, conducting in-depth clinical and forensic interviews. During that time period, the doctor cited that Meehan's mental condition had continued to deteriorate. Ultimately, the report claimed that Meehan was suffering from a mental disease or disaffect that made it impossible for him to understand the implications of the crime he is accused of committing. After court was adjourned, Meehan was remanded into custody for further evaluation. Coming up at 6, we'll take a look at what happens next for Meehan. Reporting in Indianapolis.
Okay, I want to know which doctors evaluated this guy in comparison to, where's he being held? Is he still in a county jail versus prison like Rick Allen? We saw the mess that became in the evaluations he went through. I mean, to me, that's insane that I want to see the reports that made them think that this guy was so incompetent he couldn't stand trial. That's crazy to me. You've been in there, Danger, that courthouse? You're not in Indiana? Are you? Did you move? Before I forget, Forrest Nelson, can you send me an email, hun? saltysleuth@gmail.com. I got something I want to ask you about. So if you could just email me so we can connect, that'd be cool. So we'll have to keep an eye on that case, guys, and see how it progresses, and I'll do a little more digging and see what's going on. Thank you, Joe. I'm a horrible mod, and I don't ask me to drop stuff into the chat because I'll probably mess up and throw myself a slap out of here. Okay.
So you want to know one of the crazy things to me about Ferency?
Yes.
About Ferency's death is
Yes.
that Meehan threw a Molotov cocktail at the building.
Yeah.
And that's what drew Ferency out.
Yes.
Before he killed him.
Yes.
Like
it was premeditated.
Molotov cocktail. Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
100% premeditated, just as much as walking into the judge's chamber and pulling out your gun. Boom, boom. Come on. He approached the building. He threw it in there, and that's what got them to come outside. And as soon as they came out and it was in the clearing, he opened fire and shot Greg Ferency. It's like
nobody else
no.
didn't shoot
And the other
anybody
officer,
else.
yeah. And then the report say, they state that the other officer that also came out behind Ferency was able to return fire onto Meehan, and he did wound him. And then Meehan drove himself to the hospital seeking treatment for his wounds, and they arrested him there. He was like in the hospital bed when they arrested him. Like it's crazy. Like what I would not. There's certain places that you just won't catch me trying to break the law in, or even driving slow through. I mean, I'm going to follow the speed limit because you don't never know what's going to happen. But I'm getting in and out. I don't want to be there. You know what I mean? There's a few places like that around the country that you just don't want to mess around in. You don't know what's going to happen to you. Wrong place, wrong time. You could be out sightseeing and happen to see something and say you saw something, and the next thing you know, you're on trial for it. It's like, what? It's not only in Indiana. It could happen any damn where, honestly. Oh, okay, Danger. That's cool. I think I remember you mentioning some time in Indiana there. Yeah, okay. Things are coming back to me, Danger. Hi, Lindsay. Yes, very familiar names, right? There's a lot going on. So we are going to move into our next subject. This is going to be the final one of the day. It's not going to be terribly long, but I do want to show you guys something and read it to you. And I just checked to see if there was a response yet, and there's not. Uh-oh. Let me pull this up. So I'm sure a lot of you follow the Idaho 4 case. If not, that's a whole backstory that I'm not willing to go into right now. We'll be here all night, right, Danger? I'd have to get you up here to talk with me. My voice is starting to go away anyway. Let me scroll down to where I want you guys to see and why we're going to be discussing it. And it's like the latest stuff in the case. It takes forever. This case log is long. 2 years is a long time to be waiting on stuff. Now, there's been several things dropped lately, and we did cover a lot of those. We went over the motions, that like a dozen motions to suppress. If you go back and look at my lives list, you can see where we did that live. Was that my channel or your channel, Joe? I can't remember. We bounced back and forth. Drop your link in the chat, Joe, so everybody can go sub up, because Joe and I do that. We'll take turns each other's channels. If I go down because of my swamp signal, we'll pick it back up at Joe's. So I can't remember whose channel we were on the other night when we covered those 12 motions. Let me pull this up and show you guys. Uh-oh. All right, so if you're not familiar, I'll just give you a look. Oh, shit. Hold on. Go back. Oh, my God. What did I do?
She gone. She gone. I think there's a few country music songs that encapsulate what just happened. She bailed. She's gone. She left us hanging high and dry.
Okay, I did it again. Oops, I did it again. I'm gonna get the hang of
Oh,
this.
no.
Okay.
I think that's Taylor Swift, isn't it? Oops, I did it again.
No, I think that's Britney Spears.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Now you're taking me way back.
I'm not even a huge pop fan. It's like my least favorite genre, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I like Taylor Swift's early country stuff. My daughter is in her mid-30s. Her and my granddaughter are total Swifties. I mean, she does not miss a concert. In fact, just like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, her husband surprised her with a surprise trip to go see Taylor again. Not the first time she's seen her, but yeah, she's a big Swiftie. She's talented. They're talented girls. It's just not my genre.
Right.
Okay.
What a good husband, though. I mean, like, for real.
Oh yeah, my
And
son-in-law's
awesome.
such a great guy. I love him. He treats my daughter and granddaughter the way I would want them to be treated. You know what I mean? I could not ask for better. I really,
Awesome.
really couldn't. Okay. So we all just read from the Franks motion over in the Delphi case. And Taylor over in Idaho has filed for a Franks motions hearing in the Idaho 4 case, Kohberger case. And so she wants to have a Franks motion to discuss some things and tell us why this is all bullshit. And I'm going to tell you, she filed a pretty lengthy, like a 2,000-page document. And the judge is like, excuse me? Now, remember, she put in for a change of venue, and she was granted her change of venue, which I don't disagree with. I also didn't disagree with bringing a jury in to make it easier for families, because a lot of times, and I know this is because this is Idaho 4, I'm just going to say this, and it's not just the victims in Idaho 4, but it's in every case I watch anymore. They're lost. They're gone. No, it's like not about the victims. It's about the defendant and their rights. Yes, it is, but it's also about those victims and their families. So I don't have a problem with bringing a jury in. We did that with the Delphi case, right, Joe? They brought the jury in from Allen County, but kept the trial in Delphi. They've chose to take the case out of Latah County and take it to Ada County, which, okay, fine, bigger facility. I get it. I get all the reasons. So she's filed a Franks motion over there, which by moving the case, they also went ahead and did it, gave her a whole new judge to deal with. And Ann was kind of used to dealing for the past year with Mr. Think About Everything, Judge. I didn't dislike him, but they were kind of dragging their feet on things a little bit. So this is a whole new ballgame. Okay, so Ann Taylor filed the motion to get her hearing. The judge responded, and this is what he responded with. Yes, today's the deadline, Danger, and I just checked, and she hasn't filed it yet. So we're going to see what happens. Before the court is defendant's motions for Frank's hearing was filed November 14th, and the memorandum in support of the motion was filed on the 18th. Accompanying the motion are 38 exhibits comprising of watch Ann Taylor get in court and complain about all the discoveries she had to go through and all the time it was going to take. But here she is handing the judge a 2,000 pages to read to pick out the important stuff because she couldn't highlight it for him. Anyway, 2,000 pages. Unfortunately, defendant's memorandum largely fails to identify with particularity the relevant portions of the exhibits, instead referring simply to the exhibit number without identifying the precise pages at issue. Thus, the court is left with the unbelievable task of sifting through pages and pages of largely irrelevant documents to ascertain the portion the defendant may be referring to. The court is not required to search the record looking for evidence. And he cites a case about that. Consequently, if defendant wants the motion to be considered, he must file a revised memorandum identifying the relevant portions of the record by page number and line number if referring to testimony, i.e. grand jury maybe, for the facts asserted. In addition, defendant must resubmit his supporting exhibits to exclude portions that are not relevant to the motion. Because the state is under a deadline to respond, the court will allow defendant until Tuesday, November 26th, to submit the revised filing. And that is today. It is 4:30 p.m., 4:13 Central Standard Time. What Idaho is an hour off from me, which would be 3:13 there. I might be wrong about that. It may be 2:13 there, but I think it's 3:13. Yeah, exactly, Danger. And let's not forget, Ada County is used to high-profile cases. This ain't their first rodeo, Brian Kohberger. This is not going to be. They've already had the Vallow trial and the Daybell trial. And in fact, I just caught a news piece the other day where Judge Hippler did an interview where they're trying to get a new courthouse built. They're running out of room at theirs. They're becoming such, the go-to place for these trials and think about it. Idaho's had 3 back-to-back high-profile cases. And even if you didn't follow the Vallow and Daybell, I did. Those were just as high-profile as Kohberger's, if not more of a high-profile in some instance, because it was such a horrible thing that they did. Mountain time, 1 hour behind. Yeah, okay, so Idaho is Pacific, it's 2:14 there. Y'all are confusing me. But yeah, so we're going to keep checking that docket to see if she files it on. She's got to file it on time if she wants it heard. The judge is not going to play with that. He's already made that statement. Let me. Yeah, it was huge cases. There's like a whole other show if we get into any more of these mountain time. That's what I thought. Okay. So they're an hour behind. So she's still got time to get her motion filed or refiled and get the irrelevant parts out, the parts that don't matter, and put in just the specifics. Because if you look at, let me pull something up real quick before we head out of here, because we are going to do, I think Joe's got a good follow-up show coming up. Joe's a little busy right now, so he'll have to announce when he's ready to do his next live. And then I will also be coming back live with another update on this case, because I have been following this case since day one.
Yeah, I'm trying to get that video edited of that homeless guy right after I went on live.
Yeah, so in case you guys, like I said, if you weren't following or watching the other night, Joe was live from down there at Lady Bird Lake, and he had some interesting things happen while he was down there.
And then interesting things after I was down there.
Yeah. Like he ended the live and everybody was worried about him. So I jumped on the phone with him to make sure he got back safely to where he was going. And yeah, some interesting things were going down. I was like, dude, get out of there. Get out of there. I'm like, run. So moral of the story, do not attempt to go walking around in downtown Austin alone at night, especially after midnight, when we all know nothing good comes after midnight, right?
Hey, I'm alive. I'm here.
You made it. Thank goodness. Jeez, you could have fallen down the hill down there in Delphi, and then you go traipsing off down Lady Bird Lake on me. I mean, I don't know what's coming up next, guys, with this guy. I don't know. Okay. Go ahead, Joe.
I was just going to say, let's figure it out together.
Yes.
What's next?
What's next? So I was going to try to give you guys a little, let me think. I don't like this one. Let me get away from that. Okay, this one will tell me more. Okay, let me pull this up to show you guys in case you don't know. Because when I first heard of these, I'm like, what is this? And if Bob Motta doesn't tell me, I got to go find out for myself. Okay, what is a Frank's motion and hearing? A Frank's hearing is a legal proceeding in a criminal case where you try to traverse a search warrant. No, we don't need no help. We're not in trouble. Go away. Traversing a warrant means that you challenge the truth of the information that is used to support it. So the warrant for the arrest, the warrant for the search of the home, the parents' home, the search of the car, she's challenging all of that stuff. So, and I asked this question of an attorney on Twitter, not Bob Motta, but somebody else. And I said, is the hearing going to pertain to the 12 motions to suppress? And they're like, no, it's to be to the search warrant. Well, yeah, I know that, but all those motions pertain to the search warrant stuff and the IGG, related stuff. So that's basically what a Frank's hearing and motion are. A Frank's motion is the legal document given to the judge that sets forth your request for a hearing and the specific challenges you have. So Ann needs to state her specific challenges, get that into the motion, file it, and then the judge can look at it and determine if we got enough here to warrant having a hearing. Now, over in Delphi, Gull's a whole different breed. I get it, but she denied all their hearings. It didn't matter if it was Frank's hearing or what kind of hearing it was just denied straight across the board. I don't think Hippler will go that route. He's willing to listen. if she's willing to do it right. Do you understand? You get, you know what I'm saying? And Anne can't complain about all that discovery and different things that she's getting, and then she kind of goes off and does the same thing. That didn't make any sense to me. Why do you need a 2,000 page anything to say I want a Frank's motion? I get, we saw the one in, I can't even talk myself now. The one in the Delphi case was 135, 138 pages long, but they outlined a whole alternate theory based on the investigation that took place in Delphi. Anne's not doing that. That's not her route here. She's contesting the validity of these search warrants. So I don't understand why she needed a 2,000 page anything to get that accomplished. So you think, I wonder, I don't know, are Frank's motions rarely granted? I haven't looked into that, honestly, to get, and I know that Bob did a live the other night covering the I think it was the 12 motions that she filed. I think I fell asleep during it. No offense, Bob. I do like listening to Bob, but I think I did fall asleep because I'd done read through all those documents, and I was like, I can't anymore, and I ended up dozing off during it. So we'll do a show and deep dive some of that stuff. I'm just curious to see what she files at the end of the day today. I don't know. You think you'll think that the judge will grant that motion, Joe, to hear that?
I have no idea what a judge is going to do. No idea.
Well, we kind of would get an idea of what Judge would have granted it. He'd have been like, okay, just in case, in case. I don't want y'all to get mad at me later, and just on appeal and all that, we're going to go ahead and do it. But Gull, we know, would have said, hell no. Get out of here with your messy ass thing. I'm not even going to read that motion. She didn't even read the Frank's motion. In fact, she admitted that she didn't read it. Hippler apparently attempted to read Anne's and was like, what in the world? Lady. So.
He's like, I told you 18 pages and you bring me 36. Yeah.
Yeah, and there was another thing that she filed, and the prosecution called her out on it. I think it was like a 15-page limit. Which motion was that? One of her motions to suppress was almost double the page amount limit set by the rules in Idaho. And so, of course, the judge read it anyway, and, he's got the motion. It was filed. Well, then the prosecution came out and said, no, we want to strike that motion because it was longer than it was supposed to be. And the judge said, okay, you're right, but I will allow you the same amount of pages to respond to that motion. But in the future, y'all better follow the rules, including Ann Taylor. You can't, I understand her job. It's important, and she's got a death penalty case here. That's not her only, she is a DP attorney. So this is not her first rodeo. It's not her only DP client, death penalty client. She has several on her docket right now, including Skylar Mead. So she knows what she's doing. Is she testing the waters with this judge? I don't know. I would be afraid to do so. Let me look at something that was just sent to me real quick. We're going to wrap it up here in just a few minutes. I'm kind of getting hungry and got to go make some food. Or are you guys all cooking and preparing for Thanksgiving?
Oh, yeah. I just got 2 fresh turkeys delivered because I'm not down with the frozen turkeys. So we're going to do fresh.
Where did you get those? Like when you order them from the store, you can put fresh instead of frozen?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Did you get your herbs? Did they have
your
herbs? No,
damn. They were out of the herbs. They were out of rosemary and sage and thyme, and I was very disappointed.
Wow, you must have came in a little bit late. Everybody's done grabbed all that stuff up. You think? Like,
right. I'm gonna have to go in when they get a new truck in.
Yeah, I had to wake up this morning. I'm like, what is today? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? Is it Thanksgiving yet? Like, I dreamed last night it was already like, I don't know. Like, I've been having weird dreams all week long, and Mercury went retrograde, and that's my ruling planet. So I'm always a little wonky when that happens. Um, so I'm having weird dreams. I woke up today. Cook. Sometimes my sister does. And I go to her house to eat all her good food. But this year, I didn't cook here last year, but this year I am. So I was like, do I need to be up cooking? Better get that turkey in the oven on time, right?
It's rough when you have to cook the turkey twice. Once
Oh.
in your dreams and once in reality.
Yeah. Like, for some reason, though, I was cooking yams in my dream. Like, I really want those. I'm Southern, and I love me a good,
Yep.
I love them. I love them. And so that's what I was doing in my dream, weirdly enough.
Nice. I love sweet potatoes.
I do too. Yummy, yummy. Good stuff.
Yep.
So I got this little thing sent to me about Frank's motions to be granted by a court. It must show false statements or omissions, intentional or reckless disregard for the truth, material impact on probable cause. Why, good luck. And I don't know. They got to figure out if this IGG came first, the chicken or the egg stuff, as to how you got to my client. It's important to know that she's basing everything on those motions to suppress that all that came from IGG. So it's going to be interesting, and it's going to get even more interesting with her court filings going forward. Yeah, it's the holidays. Hey there, Forensic Frenzy. Welcome in. I'm glad you showed up. Actually, we were just going over the Frank's motion stuff a little bit, and Anne hasn't filed her new Frank's motion stuff yet. If you guys don't know the Forensic Frenzy channel, I suggest you go over there and give it a like and check out her latest videos. They're interesting. I don't want to go too much into detail because I want to talk to her first, but there's a lot of good content over there, and she's had the content going back for quite a while in this case. And I've chatted with her off and on a little bit here and there. So it's just it was great to see with the way things were developing over there on that channel with her coverage of Idaho 4. So yeah, you guys get over there and check her out at Forensic Frenzy on YouTube. She also has a Twitter account you can follow, but she does a lot on the YouTube, and that's where I usually go and watch her content. And it's gotten quite interesting lately, I'll say that. And again, let me state, this channel does not ever come out and tell you either way whether someone's innocent or guilty, because we don't know. We can all lean away and have our thoughts and have our discussions, and I am open to all discussions, especially with Idaho 4, except for those crazy ass conspiracy theories that were popping off a year ago. I don't entertain those at all. Oh, you're welcome, girl. You're welcome. Like I said, you go check out her content for sure, because I do want to discuss some of the things that were in her last videos, but today wasn't that show. We had other things to cover, and it's going to take a minute to unpack some of that stuff, so I wanted to kind of plan it out a little bit there. And with the holidays coming, everybody's a little busy, so I'll get with her and see what we can come up with and see what I talk about and don't talk about there, because it's not my content, it's hers, and I don't like stealing content. So just to put that out there. Anyway, guys, thanks for coming in. We are rolling on 2.5 hours, and that's usually about how long we keep it here, 2.5, 3 hours. And it's getting close to dinner time for everybody, and we got to go do all that stuff. And like I said, I'm getting hungry myself, so we're going to pop out of this for a bit. I may come back up tomorrow, especially if Anne does this filing by the end of the day, because I don't think the judge is playing with the deadline. If she doesn't get it filed today, there's not going to be a Frank's motion or a Frank's hearing for her in this case, and that's going to be nobody's fault but her own at that point. And it'll be interesting to see if people take that, because it's always someone else's fault in this case and never Anne's fault. So get busy, Anne. Get that thing filed, girl, if you want to get that motion. All right, guys, thanks for coming in, and catch us on the replay, and go sub up to Joe and check out that footage from Lady Bird Lake the other night. It's quite interesting, and I'm excited for Joe to yes, girl, today's the deadline, and she hasn't filed. A little bit of time left. She better get busy, right? But yeah, go check out Joe's channel as well. Joe Schmo at YouTube, and take a look at his last video on Lady Bird Lake. It's quite interesting. And Joe, when you get ready to do that follow-up show, let me know so we can get it scheduled, because you do got some interesting things about Lady Bird Lake to talk about.
Yep, let's do that ASAP.
Yes, let's do. So Joe, you're the one with the schedule there. You know me, I'm at home all week long doing nothing but cooking stuff. So not today or tomorrow, maybe tomorrow night, we'll see. But yeah, let me know. We'll get it scheduled up. All right.
Sounds good.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Appreciate you coming in, and we will see you next time.